My husband and I learned early on that what is perceived as job security is in many ways the least secure thing in the world. That company, that individual, the boss, they are basically your one client. They are your one customer, and you have to serve them with everything you have in order to keep that job. You're told what to do, you're told when to be there, you're told how to do your job, and there's very limited freedom in a lot of jobs. And in some ways, you could consider a lot of jobs as a form of slavery. You don't have to do business the way the world dictates. We might be in the world, but we're not of it. We can do business in the world, but not do it the world's way. We actually came through one of the most difficult seasons in modern history, more prosperous, with more freedom, and just blessed. There is a freedom that comes as an entrepreneur that many people, I don't think, realize. Hi friends, I have had it on my heart to share something so simple in some ways, but so profound, and here it is. The Bible calls us to be the head and not the tail, and above and not beneath. And I believe that one of the greatest expressions of that is to be an entrepreneur. When you are the entrepreneur, when you are the head and you are not the tail, you get to establish the culture. You get to set the tone and basically create the atmosphere that your business and your company is going to operate under. You get to interact with clients. You don't have to get permission from anyone else when you feel led to share your testimony, to pray for somebody, to pause and or pray over homes or pray over clients. Your time is God's time. And so there is a freedom that comes as an entrepreneur that many people I don't think realize. And my husband and I, I've been an entrepreneur, I think, since college. So I don't know, my mid to late 20s. And there is such a freedom that comes with it. I'm going to expand on this in the sense that in all the craziness that happened in the world a few years ago, there was a lot of pressure for individuals and companies to do what governments and different organizations dictated. But when you own your own business, there is a certain freedom that comes with that. And my husband and I were never so thankful as we were even then to have our own businesses, because we didn't have to bow the knee and do what was required in order to keep a job, to keep a business. The Lord has led us to do to build businesses that are basically debt free and that have no real overhead. We don't have a lot of costs and operating costs. We own our businesses free and clear, and so there wasn't a lot of overhead to weigh us down or to put us in a situation where we would have to compromise. And so we actually came through one of the most difficult seasons in modern history, more prosperous, with more freedom, more authority, so to speak, even in the spirit, and just blessed. We homeschool our boys, and so we weren't limited by things that threw off a lot of people, didn't affect our lives. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm only saying this that you would hear a little bit of our journey and understand that when you have your own business, there is a freedom that comes, and that freedom carries over into a lot of areas. One, you don't have to do business the way the world dictates. You don't have to do business. We might be in the world, but we're not of it. We can do business in the world, but not do it the world's way. And so there is there is just a strength that comes from that. And for us, it was just such kind of the epitome of the example of what we'd been walking out for years in entrepreneurship that came to a crux. And so I also elaborated already with this that we get to pray with people whenever we want. My husband he works in homes he's been a general contractor for years. Now he's retired as a contractor, still does some creative work. But when he goes into homes, he has an incredible opportunity to speak and talk with people and pray. I don't know how many conversations he's had. People have been brought to tears. He's brought me in to pray with people. And there's just an incredible grace that comes. And we don't have to ask permission from anyone. There is... So there's the opportunity to share your testimony, share your story in a way that's open and vulnerable and authentic, where you're not looking over your shoulder trying to figure out if you're allowed to share your story. Now, there are training seasons, and God might have you in a place where you are working for someone else and it's training ground, and maybe you're kind of in covert operations. And I get that because I've been there. My husband's been there. We haven't always done this, but I would challenge you to just begin to look at the trajectory of your life. And when it comes to money and faith, finances, when you're looking at what God's purposes are for stewardship and creating wealth in the earth, why it's so important to know what his purposes are, why he's created you. What's the purpose of the resources that you have, the position that he's given you? And so how can you use those resources? How can you use your time? How can you steward it to the best of your ability? And for us, being able to just having freedom, that's all I can say. We're not beholden to anyone to ask for what we're doing with our time, what we're allowed to say, when we're allowed to do it, how we're allowed to do it. We have complete freedom. And so if you're working for another company or for a company, then I challenge you to begin to look at building a business. And it's easy to do. Building a business might not be easy, but you can take small steps now to begin to build a business, to begin to explore what your skill sets are. It might take you 3 different tries before you're able to fly, so to speak. But you're going to be in such a better place in 3 years or after those 3 tries than you are right now. If you don't do it, you are going to be in the same place you always were. And I heard it once said, most people have a job. It's considered security. Job security is even the word we use. And my husband and I learned early on that what is perceived as job security is in many ways the least secure thing in the world. Hear me. If you have a job and you are giving all your time and energy to that job, that organization, that company, that individual, that boss, they are basically your one client. They are your one customer, and you have to serve them with everything you have in order to keep that job. Now, if anything happens, if they aren't communicating clearly about the risks in the marketplace or change or turnover, you're not usually informed about the dangers coming down the road or the bumps in the road, or that they're going to be laying people off until they have to share that news, right? So when you find out that your job is maybe on the line and you might be losing your job, that you might not get more than a couple weeks notice if you're lucky. Never mind if you get fired. You might get a severance package. You might get, if you're lucky and higher up in management, or a valuable member, or you have a really good organization you work with, maybe that window is a lot longer. Maybe you get 3 months or 6 months, but you are still going to be out of a job. And it's 100% of your income is based on that job. Where if you can have a business mindset and look at it as an entrepreneur, then what you're doing is you're beginning to look at every different client that you have as a different or every customer or client as a mini boss. Basically, instead of outsourcing your work to one customer for a job, one job, you are creating a business with many clients, many customers, and you're serving them for projects or small amounts of time here and there. And so I really encourage you to reconsider how you're looking at investing your time. God's only given you so much time. He's only given me so much time. None of us know the number of days that we have on the earth, but we want to steward it. And one of the ways we can steward it and have the greatest impact is when we get to have freedom. And so it's a hard thing to say, but in many ways, jobs, you're told what to do, you're told when to be there, you're told how to do your job, and there's very limited freedom in a lot of jobs. And in some ways, you could consider a lot of jobs as a form of slavery. Now, that's a big range, and I'm not saying every job is slavery. There are jobs that are delightful to do. There are jobs that have an impact. There are jobs that are like callings. My mom was a teacher for years, and she knew she was created to be a teacher, and she taught both privately before she was certified as a teacher, and then for the public school system, and is still a phenomenal teacher. And so there are some callings that you're going to do. It's pretty hard to go into this public school system without having a teaching license and make that kind of impact. So please hear my heart. I'm not trying to say that jobs in their own nature are slavery, but I do know a lot of people that are that see their job as a form of prison. And I invite you to relook at your job. Why are you doing the job you are doing? What is the purpose? How long do you need to be there? Why are you going to stay? Start talking to God about your job if you haven't started already, and begin to ask God for his input. Begin to pray about your job, pray over your job, pray over your clients, your one client, your boss. Be praying in that workplace, wherever it is. And I challenge you to begin to look for other opportunities, and I think you will be surprised to see what God can do if you have a desire to begin to move in more freedom and take responsibility and steward your time and your resources and your skills as an entrepreneur. And I think some amazing doors can open up. So I'm going to leave you with that today. I so appreciate you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching these videos. I so appreciate you. Bye. See you on the next video.